Welcome to Southern Virginia University as we join this contest between the women's lacrosse team of the Southern Virginia University Knights going up against the Piedmont University Lions. I'm Scotty Winterton, joined by my colleague Jordan Sorensen. Jordan has had a number of years of experience working with the women's lacrosse team, goalie coach, a great lacrosse goalie in his own right. Awesome to have everybody join us for this contest. A beautiful day here in Buena Vista, just coming off another contest between the men's team of Southern Virginia University as they faced off against their own conference foes, LaGrange College, where they won handily by over 20 points. We have an opportunity this afternoon to have a conference game between the Lions and the Knights. Really important. The Knights come in at 2-0 in the conference. The Lions struggling a little bit. Were 3-3 going into conference play. They lost their most recent conference game to Averett 7-12. So this is really important for the Lions to get on track, get a conference win. For the Knights, who were picked to finish second in the conference, it's important for them to stay ahead of this Piedmont team who was tied for third in the preseason poll. Jordan, you've had a chance to be around this Knights team a little bit over the last semester. How do you feel like they're going to be able to handle Piedmont today?
Well, I'll tell you first, we are totally blessed to have an awesome day for some lacrosse with the weather, the setting, everything we have here at Southern Virginia University. But particularly this game, being that conference game, both teams similar in their preseason standings in the conference. So seeing how this matches together, I think, is a big test on how the rest of the season is going to play in conference. On paper, they should stack up to be a great game. So let's see what we get.
So the Knights triggering their offense, 45 seconds left on the shot clock. Adelaide Smith coming through off the pick to Alyssa Johnson. Alyssa Johnson, really the key offensive player, triggers a lot of the Knights' offense. Alyssa Johnson comes in with 18 points, 12 goals, 6 assists, leads the Knights in shooting. Shooting percentage is 44.4%. So for the number of shots that she takes, she's really accurate. She gets the ball on cage. She's really the workhorse on the offense for the Knights in terms of triggering. But the Knights have a number of other players that have really started to step up. Chloe Mitchell, number 28, Tyler John, number 18, especially, really doing a lot of work. Kind of finishing out in terms of scoring and assisting is Natalie Ewell, number 9. On the Lions side, they have 4 really strong players that have done most of their scoring. Number 2, Maggie Spratlin, does most of that work. She's got 22 points, 6 goals, 16 assists. Put that in perspective, the next closest assister is Allie Reese with 6 assists. So she does a lot of the triggering. She's number 2. You'll see her behind attack. She's got the helmet on. She has a brace on her left knee. She's somebody to watch on this team. The Knights are going to have to pay special attention to her. Mary Bumpus, number 14. Lindley Ward, number 22. Allie Reese, number 25. Do a lot of the scoring for the Lions. Great back check from Johnson.
All right, so you see a tale of different offensive strategies so far. Piedmont utilizing a more isocentric offense, trying to have one player use their skill to get through and penetrate to the goal, and Southern Virginia playing a high motion offense, trying to rotate people through the crease and relying on passes to get there. And that can be tough sometimes, and we'll see how effective it can be if they can get the passes where they need to be as girls are cutting in and around the crease.
Knights clear successfully with about 60 seconds left on the shot clock. Johnson comes through off the screen. You see a lot of this pick and roll action from the Knights.
We expect to see a lot of it today, I would imagine. And this is interesting. They're spacing the field right now, trying to use up that shot clock, maybe give everyone just a little bit of that break. And number 2 here is going to get a drive into the cage, or no, we're passing it out to the outside. I'm trying to see what they're setting up with this. Are they giving her space to run?
Tyler John kicks the ball behind the Knights with about 25 seconds left. Getting in front of the cage. Shots just misses the outside.
Now, they get the ball back, but the shot clock does not reset because the shot was not on cage. So they got pressure. They have 15 seconds to get this in. Yeah, expect Johnson to go for it. She knows she's got short time. She's the shooter. There is a good save.
Quality save from goalie Kellyanne Schlosser, the sophomore from Cooper City, Florida.
I'm really curious to see how the goalies for Piedmont stack up. They're averaging about 45% on the season, which is a little on the low end of where you'd like to be, which tends to say that the defense has struggled to help them see good shots. But they did a great job that time of forcing a full 8-meter distance shot, which is a low percentage shot in women's lacrosse.
Schlosser getting the bulk of the time, started in all 7 games so far. 66 goals against, averages about 11 per game with a 46% save percentage.
I think we had a offsides called there, if I saw correctly, so it's turnover by the Knights.
Bumpus will trigger the clear. Ahead to Lindley Ward. Out of the midfield. Hard check from Roxy LeBaron. She'll throw some of those. Every now and then gets called for it too. Very physical player is Roxy LeBaron.
I'm interested. The Knights are playing a very aggressive defense considering what they've played in the past. They're trying to challenge the point of the ball and force passes into traffic. We'll see if it pays off for them, but this is a little bit of a change in strategy for them on the season.
Very much playing man-to-man. The double comes. They're going to call the violation, and
it was good defense. She just extended her arms in the check at the end, and they're going to call that for a push every time.
Looks like we'll get a free possession shot. Dangerous place. This will be Lindley Ward. 14 goals, 4 assists on the season, and there's her 15th goal. Really a danger straight away from the cage. Hard for Jessica Webb to manage that when there's just so much cage to shoot at.
And I'll tell you, you'll get some goalie commentary from me today. If there's one thing I know well, it tends to be on the goalie side. In fact, you can see there on the replay that the shooter came right down the middle. The defenses couldn't crash fast enough on the sides. It allowed her to not just stay in the middle, but step hard right as she was going to shoot. It took Jessica, she stepped up, tried to make that save, but couldn't reposition herself, opened up the side of the cage for a nice goal. In the future, her defense needs to try to get in there a little bit quicker and force her to stay straight and not move Jessica left and right. It's tough in those short distance shots to make those adjustments.
Ward did a good job getting underneath Alyssa Johnson. You don't see that very often in those free possession shots where she comes completely underneath the defender. And not a lot that Webb can do when she comes back. Great feed. Good feed underneath. Adelaide Smith catching the shot, the freshman from Alpine, Utah. She went to Lone Peak High School. Really good job activating her feet, coming across the crease, and then finishing across the face of the goal.
So that's something that makes you happy as a coach, to see your player recognize that they are open coming through the crease, because defense hadn't quite picked up in transition yet. She was wide open. Far too often you'll see particularly freshmen not recognize that and try to space themselves out when really they should just turn, catch the ball to shoot. She did exactly what she needed to do right there, and it got the Knights a goal. So we're all tied up here, 1-1. Good start.
And you have to decide, Jordan, is it an opportunity to push in transition, or do we need to settle here? Those are hard decisions to make. It's nice when you have somebody like Alyssa Johnson. Some of these players are a little bit more experienced that can make those decisions and then feed these freshmen who are really quality players for the Knights.
Absolutely. When you have two experienced players, particularly Alyssa Johnson and Chloe Mitchell, you hope that the ball is in their stick and they can make the call. Do they slow it down? Do they push it? Because if they push it, you're expecting a goal out of it.
Tyler John, shot, gets the rebound.
So that's just pure athleticism there that we're seeing from the Knights, just trying to be faster and beat their girl to the goal. That was some impressive play. Didn't finish in a goal, but we're going to see that pay dividends throughout the rest of the game as the defense knows they have to pay attention to the quick people.
Schlosser did a great job on the save, but we'll get a stoppage in play.
Yeah, Schlosser's looked good in goal so far. Very active with her feet, sticks moving well, and not getting stuck in one position. She's come up with 2 big saves.
So now for the Knights, Adelaide Smith. Same exact position we saw on the other end. Straight away, free position shot. See what she can do with it. Hard shot low, and Schlosser says, no soup for you. Goes down, protects 5-hole. Now quickly clearing out to her defenders and out to the midfield. Michaela Smith in and out. Especially in the women's game, the inside-out play is really important in the clear, where you get the players collapsing, and you'll often get the great catch, not able to turn and shoot. That was a phenomenal catch from Allie Reese.
Yeah, it was kind of a questionable call. I'll check by the head. You're going to get a free position. I think that stick was pretty far extended, so tough call to go against the Knights there.
Subbing out is Adelaide Smith. Looks like the ball went off the post.
Yeah. So Jessica Webb was great positioning there, gave them such a narrow window to shoot in, and they hit post. That's good goaltending.
Kuna transitioning really quickly. We see this out of her several times a game. Well, she'll get that ball and just all on her own beat the midfielders of the opposing team down the field and really make the clear easy for the Knights. Kuna, the senior from Lehigh, Utah, went to Skyridge High School.
And we see the Knights settling into their motion offense. Running screens, a little give and go.
So this is the 3rd time we've seen this out of the Knights. This time, the height of Chloe Mitchell really made the difference on that. She gives such a great target coming off of that pick and roll situation. The Knights weren't able to get that pass off. Alyssa wasn't able really to connect until this time, where Chloe just gives such a great target. She gets that stick up high, and it's such an easy pass where you're not trying to thread it through somebody else's stick because she's giving you this high target.
And she does a great job of utilizing her size in those moments. You'll see her try to get big, be that big target, but probably most importantly with her ability to catch those passes. That's a tough pass to catch, those short, tight spaces, but she consistently gets that and has converted a lot of her goals with that exact same situation. And here we get the draw. The Knights have dominated the draw up to this point, which obviously bodes well for them going forward. But this one's going to come up with Piedmont, as there was no one in the vicinity where that ball came out. Let's see how the Knights respond with the ride. That's them trying to, you essentially have the clear getting up the field, the ride trying to prevent it. Little lacrosse terminology.
Ball down at midfield, quality ground ball. Tyler John is just such a
She's been
active
everywhere.
player, and she's like that all the time. She brings this energy. Sophomore from Sandy, Utah.
Yeah, lot of energy from her. Expect her to make a couple runs at cage as this game progresses. And here she goes, trying to find someone to pass or make a move.
Same pick and roll. This time cutter across, not off the roll, but a high C cut from Mitchell. Those are really fun cuts to feed because they get to catch the ball and they're coming across, running away from their defender, right, Jordan? And that creates a really nice shooting opportunity because the defender's going to be behind.
Let's see how the Knights can capitalize. They've been running this from the X or the bottom of the cage quite a bit, finding the hole right there. Excellent cut. Excellent delivery.
So you mentioned the Knights are playing with a little bit more of kind of a team drive and feed, pick off ball, high cuts. We're seeing that in this series, like on display over and over again. The Knights were really looking to not make this a one-on-one, but you still have to dodge to score. You got to create movement on the defense, but they're doing so much off ball that it really creates opportunities.
Yeah, I also like the setup, the positioning on that last go. A lot of times offenses that run motion will do almost everything from the top, with maybe an occasional set from the wings or from behind the cage, the X position. But they've run 2 or 3 sets already from either a wing or coming from the X, and it's creating a little bit of havoc with Piedmont's defense, trying to figure out where they're at. And another draw control by the Knights. We'll see if they push it.
In the make-it-take-it world of lacrosse, runs are more apt. You see runs in lacrosse more than any other sport out there because of this make-it-take-it opportunity. You score, you have a draw control, and you get a chance to get another goal. Knights up 3-1. Great save from Schlosser.
Yeah, that was a really low percentage shot, but I think Alyssa was more just testing what can I get away with here. But Schlosser's been great on low shots. She is getting her body and stick into a great position. It's from a goalie perspective, she has great form on those lower saves, and it's paying dividends because the Knights have tested her consistently, and she's coming up strong.
Quick outlet to Marin Bumpus. She looked ahead to Michaela Smith. Violation called. Smith will put the ball down into the hands of Allie Reese. A lot of white defenders are back, so it'll end up in the hands of Maggie Spratlin, who we have not heard hardly anything out of in the first 6 or so minutes of this game. As I mentioned, 16 assists. She really triggers the offense. She hasn't had many touches on the ball.
Look at Piedmont running a full set here from X as well, trying to move some cutters into that crease and find an open feed. But the Knights have had solid defense and getting sticking on their players at all times. And there's been no holes to give them that advantage. But they still have 30 seconds on the shot clock.
You meant 20 seconds on the shot clock, running down. Reese trying to find some space to get her shot off. The Knights are switching on picks. This one looked to go underneath to Spratlin. Knights clearing the ball quickly. See that clear again from Holly Kuna.
See as the Knights really trying to take advantage of some one-on-one opportunities as well. They're testing kind of the ISO, but you see that feed on the inside. If that's going to be there all day, the Knights are going to keep taking that shot, and they're going to start scoring. That's a high-value shot right there.
And that's really what you're looking for, right? You're looking for opportunities. You know, it's like the difference between taking a three-pointer in basketball. We got March Madness going on right now, and you take a three-pointer a foot or two, a step back from the three-point line with a hand in your face. Yeah, maybe you can make that, but if you swing the ball, work around, you can take a shot similar, but nobody's in your face and you have a chance to really look at the ball. It's a much more efficient shot because you have a higher chance of it going in. And you're just looking to create those opportunities. It's kind of like a money ball situation in from baseball where, you know, efficiency is as important as, you know, just taking the shot. You want to take good shots. The throwaway there from Adelaide Smith could not connect.
Yeah, a lot of sloppy play on both sides of the field in the last minute and a half or so. Team's going to have to clean it up if we're going to get more opportunities to convert. Oh, that makes me nervous. You got to be real careful where you position the goalie on those clears. Luckily, it stays in bound for Piedmont. but it wouldn't be the first team to accidentally score on their own goal with a throw not well positioned.
You always want to move that goalie below GLE.
Yeah.
Because just, you'll take the geometry. It's really hard for the ball to go in when it's
going behind the cage.
When it's behind the cage. Just geometry being what it is. I think I scored pretty well in my geometry class in high school, but that one doesn't take too much.
Optimistic.
Oh. Okay, you're probably right. The truth hurts.
The truth hurts.
The wicked taketh the truth to be hard.
Looks like we have a timeout called by Piedmont, trying to gather themselves, may eliminate some of the sloppy settings that we're seeing. Again, when it comes to where the teams are at, this is coming down to SVU's ability to get past the goalie. Piedmont's goalie has done a phenomenal job up to this point, and realistically is keeping Piedmont in this game. And if she keeps playing well, they're going to have a chance to stay competitive throughout and make a game of it. But if the Piedmont defense can't stop up and start slowing down some of these shots, it's only a matter of time before they start falling in a big run like we were talking about earlier.
The Knights have generated 9 shots on goal, which they have 10 shots total. They're doing a good job of putting the ball on cage, which, as long as the goalie isn't making easy saves, is always a good thing. You can't score if it's not on cage. You have to balance that with a save from the goalie is essentially a turnover if she handles the rebound. So the Knights are putting things on cage pretty even in ground balls. They're currently showing no ground balls on the stat line for Piedmont. I'm not sure that's correct at the moment. But clearly the Lions need to get a little bit more ball control. The Knights with 9 shots, as I mentioned. The Lions, Jordan, only have 2 shots.
Yep.
They have 2 shots total, both of them on cage. One of them going past Jessica Webb. So they need they need to create some offensive opportunities that have just kind of eluded them thus far.
Yeah, again, that's going to be the big test. If they can slow down SVU's barrage of shots and then take their time, find better sets, better shots, and actually get those to convert. I mean, you saw the last full possession Piedmont had. They ran out of shot clock and ended up throwing the ball away. They can't have consistent possessions like that. It is just going to, especially with the score potentially getting further and further separated between the two teams, you got to start finding some quicker opportunities to get good shots into the back cage, which in theory is why they take this timeout right here, get a set, a play, everyone's on the same page, and let's see how they develop it. Moving that ball on the high screen at the top.
Difficult dodge when you're dodging underneath. You saw number 22 for the Lions. That was Lindley Ward over the top of Marin Bumpus. Meaning Marin Bumpus trying to dodge underneath her. That just allows her defender to double team. It's just the spacing of that is difficult. Fakes the pass as Bumpus.
Great defense.
Nothing comes of it, but generating a little bit of movement on the Knights defense. Bumpus again looking to create for a team.
Yeah, it's the second time we've seen Lindsay Ward behind the ball and distancing herself real wide, trying to find that back cut. But I think she's taking a little too long to get there, and the double team's coming quicker than the pass can be redirected to her. So if they're going to keep utilizing that move and try to slip her in back door, they need to tighten that up a bit.
Knights will come away with the ball in that violation. 25 seconds left. It looks like, Jordan, what Coach Whitworth has done is she has put what I think is kind of the most aggressive and best defender freshman, Tupu Mulitalo. She just sat her on Maggie Spratlin and not allowed Spratlin to have really generate anything. Coach has looked at that, and as the game clock goes to 0-0 for the quarter. I think Coach Whitworth looked at the situation and said, well, if Spratlin, who, when you look at the stats, as I mentioned, 16 assists, with 6 goals, and the next closest assist person is 6, which is Allie Reese. When you look at that situation, you go, okay, well, who do we want to limit? If you can limit Spratland, I think you've done a lot to impede the offensive production of the Lions, and we've seen that Spratland has really been taken out of the game thus far. I don't know if it's she looks like she's limping a little bit. I'm not sure kind of where she's at with her health, but it doesn't look like she's really looking for her opportunity in terms of driving and finding her teammates. And it could be from how the defense of Mulitalo is playing against her. Maybe there's some health issue going on.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Spratland, and almost the entire, or she has more assists than almost the entire team combined. So they depend on her to be a little bit of a general out there and direct that. And taking her out has forced the other players to be more isolated players, trying to go without assists and just create their own shots. And they've struggled with the quick double teams and the high pressure that SVU has decided to play with. So Coach Whitworth's strategy is working.
And for amount of time that she's on the ball in the first 7 games, she only has 14 turnovers, has 8 caused turnovers. She controls the ball really well. 22 points with just 14 turnovers. She's a really good player that I think the Kirsten Smith, the women's head coach, needs to find a way to get her more involved. But I also think that goes when you look across the other side of the bench, looking at Alyssa Johnson, who has 18 points, 12 goals, 6 assists, only 6 turnovers on the year. Alyssa Johnson takes care of the ball so well. Such a smart player. Really does a great job. The junior from Salt Lake City, went to Olympus High School. True leader on this team.
Yeah, and they're going to need a big dose of her coming in this second quarter as they look to make a run and want to start finally converting some of these shots that they've been taking up to this point. And she is a huge focal point of that. And we're going to see more of that pick and roll situation between her and Chloe Mitchell in particular. And this is kind of the fun of this type of a game. Is the score, we're 3-1. This is a competitive game. And now it comes down to what kind of adjustments can these coaches make. Can they make the changes they need to take advantage of the situations they've seen up to this point? And I guess as we start the second quarter, we're about to find out. Draw control stays with the Knights. Again, they have been dominating up to this point, although some rough passing in the clear, the transition up the field, but they gain control, and now they settle into their offense. So I have a feeling we're going to see more of this pick and roll kind of run.
Adelaide Smith trying to find her teammates. She's really put out on an island as everybody was shut off. Finally, she's able to get the ball in the hands of Mitchell. She finds Tyler John, not able to find shooting space, has to back it out.
Yeah, that's fortunate that worked out. That's a tough, long feed into the middle of the crease there in front of the goal. And fortunate, John had such a great stick, she was able to come away with it.
Alyssa Johnson with a strong shot, lower right corner. Schlosser up to the challenge, makes the save. The Knights have challenged her down low at her ankles and her feet a lot. She's done a great job. 10 shots on goal for the Knights.
I think what's interesting is you tend not to see quite as many full 8-meter shots. And so that's the top of that first red line, that arc there in front of the cage. That's at 8 meters. You tend not to see too many shots from that distance. Most people shoot more about 5 meters, coming in just 3 in. And that's probably the 4th shot coming around that 8-meter, testing Schlosser. And I guess she's held up well. She's saving those shots. So the Knights need to find a new shot, or she's just going to keep Piedmont in this game.
Pepperoni able to garner the violation and picks it up, and the Knights will reverse the ball from one side to the other and quickly up through Skopek. She'll look to get the ball to X, down to the attack. Skopek, the freshman defensive midfielder from San Diego, California, went to Del Norte High School.
Schlosser's there again. That was just a breakdown in defense. Recognized that had the advantage, curled around what we call a crease roll, coming back from X to the front to take a shot. Should have been a goal, but great save by Schlosser.
John looking to get the ball in the hands of Johnson. That connection misses. And I'll have a quick outlet all the way up to the waiting arms of Allie Reese. Eventually picked up by Lindley Ward. Now we'll see Maggie Spratlin.
Tight defense behind the cage.
Yeah, the Knights are just not giving Spratlin any room to feel comfortable. I do wonder if she's a little banged up, just in how she's moving. And a hard check. I mentioned that Kuna will come after Bill. She'll be sent off, and the Lions will go into a extra player opportunity. The power play will start with this free position shot at the 8-meter, just off to the goalie's left.
I think this is where the Knights have run into a little bit of trouble in the past, just getting a lot of yellow cards piled up on them. They play a very aggressive style defense, as we've seen to this point, but they can get a little careless with their checks. It comes a little too close to the head, you're going to get that card every single time. They're positioning players. Okay, it's not a free position shot from where the foul actually took place, so she will get possession, but it's not on the 8, so making that a little bit more difficult if she tries to run it. Very typical to pass out of that.
Crease pass right into the stick of Jessica Webb. Talk about how a goalie, when those crease passes come, what's the process for a goalie to get a save like that? That was an incredible save from Webb.
You're looking at just trying to shut down angles. Again, come back to that idea of geometry as the Knights push it up the field. You're just trying to get as big as you possibly can when they're that close, get your stick up in the air and try to match their stick to what you see. And as you do it, you shut off those angles and you come up with a save right into the stick like that one.
And that's why I think, Jordan, you often talk about from an offensive perspective, when you're in tight, being able to pull that ball low because the goalies are matching your stick. And it's a little more difficult with the women's sticks and the lack of a pocket to really pull that ball on a hard, low angle. You really got to drop your hands and pull it down. With the men's stick, it's a little easier. So, it's you often see the, turn and shoot right away. And a lot of those shots tend to be a little higher in the women's game, but those low angles are open because goalies are really trying to match stick, just turn and
so we see
put
here
their stick on where yours is.
The Knights stepped out of bounds, just losing their place on the field, and now Piedmont has a run up the field, but they have yet to take advantage of these tight transitions. Let's see if they can do something here. They're going to call free position. So just for those who may be unfamiliar, that if you try to, or if you're a defender and you're more than a stick's length in front of someone who can potentially shoot, they will call you for a free position, give them essentially a penalty shot like that every time.
And the shot and the finish from Marin Bumpus, the second free position finish, both goals coming off of that situation for the Lions. Really good hard shot down low, difficult save from Jessica Webb. It was stick side, but came awful quick right to her ankles.
Yeah, no, it was a good low angle shot and great finish on the shooter. And Webb, I think, just needs to get her feet a little bit more active as that shot comes in to kind of move to her side with that shot as it comes down, and she'll start getting to those types of shots. But so far, I mean, it's free position shots, so how Piedmont's scoring.
The Knights, 1-goal lead as Chloe Mitchell steps up for the draw control. She went up against Jaden Rematowski, And Mitchell corral the ball.
Great hustle. Ability to track down that ball says a lot about Chloe Mitchell and just being active on that field.
Alyssa Johnson with the little dodge off the screen. John cuts hard C cut, unable to finish. I really feel like Schlosser has done a great job stick side.
Yeah, stick side low in particular. The Knights just keep shooting stick side low, and she has not been fooled. She hasn't moved her feet, which a lot of times goalies will get pulled out of position because they're trying to move with the shooter to their left, and then the shot comes to their right, and they can't get back in time. But Schlosser's proven she can. I don't know if they've scored a single shot, and that might be the 6th, 7th shot they've put in that same corner. The Knights need to vary up their angles.
It's hard to get in necessarily and talk about, all right, let's shoot here or shoot there. I mean, first you want them to shoot hard.
Absolutely.
But you can't talk about goalies' tendencies. You don't want to be in the head of the shooters. Tyler John misses the feed off of her, another high to low cut, and then quickly ahead to Spratlin.
Knights able to recover. As Spratlin, I think, is controlling the ball really well, but doesn't have that high end speed right now to really push in transition.
Spratlin with the backdoor cut, unable to catch and finish. Knights will flick the ball to the
Dangerous.
goalie.
Makes me nervous.
Always makes you nervous.
Deep breath. You'd be surprised as a goalie, even if you think that you're just flicking that ball, it's rolling slow. When you've got so much going on, those quick reactions to something so slow in front of you, plenty of goalies have been scored on by their own teams or by someone just kicking the ball in, because those are tougher than you would think to get down to. So Knights fortunate there not to have a problem.
And Coach Whitworth calling a timeout with 8:37 left in the second quarter. She's going to bring the offense in, talk it over as...
Well, I think as we see, probably what they're discussing is Piedmont's been able to control the tempo of the second quarter. They've slowed the game down, get in their transition, bring it down, and usually they're taking a lot more time in their shots and being more selective, or forcing the ball around enough till the Knights get aggressive, too aggressive, get that free position foul call, and give their shooters shots right at that 8 meter or slightly closer. And I think the Knights got to be a little bit careful on how aggressive they are on some of those balls that are close and inside, because, again, the free position shots are how Piedmont's staying in this game offensively right now. Nothing else is working for them, but that's where they got their 2 goals. And I think to our earlier point, now that I'm thinking about it, what's Piedmont done well? They've limited SVU's shots. Southern Virginia has not had nearly as many shots in this second quarter as they did in that first. And a lot of that attribute to the defense pushing out a little bit further and making those interior passes just a bit more difficult to get through and kind of thread that needle. We'll see if the Knights make some adjustments.
We mentioned that the Knights are 2-0 in conference. On March 10th, they took on Methodist and won 16-8. And then just a few days ago, they managed to beat Greensboro, who 17-4. Greensboro was picked to finish 10th. Methodist was preseason number 5. So they have yet to see the higher echelon teams in the USA South. But with the 2 teams they faced, they've done a really quality job, as Tupu Mulitalo will move the ball quickly down the field, looking for an attackman or a midfielder. She'll retreat back to the defensive side.
Knights here setting up, trying to take advantage of Piedmont defenders just being a little unprepared for the isolation dodge. And they're not running their high motion quite yet, just testing the waters as to what they can get away with. They haven't broken through yet, but there's been 2 or 3 chances where I thought they might. That could be dangerous leading forward.
Alyssa Johnson, a little shake and bake, falls down, kind of slipped. They're going to get a push.
Yeah, that's so unnecessary. The defender had it won, and decided to throw that push and lost the ball and gives Alyssa Johnson, the top scorer for Southern Virginia, a good opportunity in front.
She doesn't take advantage of it by shooting. Looking to create with her left hand, not able to find the goal, the shot that she wanted, or a teammate on the cut. Skylar Rowe.
And look at the spacing. The Knights are running into some spacing issues. They were all bunched up on that right side, but they get Tyler John released and can't come up with it.
She did this great job. We call it a submarine cut on the men's side. When you cut underneath, the ball's on a wing or out wide, and you cut underneath that looking for a pass. Call it a submarine cut. And that was a really good
Yeah, it was great.
cut
Just couldn't
from
quite
Tyler
complete
John. Yeah.
Piedmont's just moving up the field, methodical in their clear. Ball on the ground, but they were able to recover it. And now they'll set up their offense. Here comes that. Oh, no, they didn't pull the trigger on it. They had a little bit of that.
Second time that we've seen Spratling cut backside off of the X dodge as her defender was looking to help adjacent.
And I think we have to remember, although we talked about how many assists she has, she does have 6 goals on the season, so it's not like she can't score as well. You leave her open, she can be dangerous. But assists, kind of that general factor, is where she usually plays in. But they keep going to the well. They keep testing that water, and they get it again. They tested enough. The Knights are a little over-aggressive, and now they're giving a good shooter a shot right on the 8.
Both goals for the Lions have come from this scenario. Free position shot. Bracketed on either side by Knights, and the save from Webb goes down 5-hole, gets the stop, plus the Knights get the rebound.
As someone who works with Jessica Webb on various aspects of being a goalie, that makes me very happy. She had great position, took away the left side of the cage, so the shooter had to go right between her legs or to her right-hand side, and she was able to get there, get her body in position, get the stick down, make that save.
The pass ahead to Chloe Mitchell. And that quick, so this time, as Chloe Mitchell went to shoot, again, dropping her stick, we've seen the fact that from a goalie's perspective, that Schlosser has gone down really quick. She drops her hands, which makes her really good on those low balls. But when you have Mitchell just with a little bit of a head tilt, a little bit of a shoulder fake, and send the goalie down and finishes high, it looked like that Schlosser wasn't even close, had no shot at that. And it was really because it was a kind of a slick shot from Mitchell, just sending the goalie low with a little glance and a little shoulder action.
Yeah, great shooters understand how to use their body to try to manipulate a goalie. And it's something, again, you have to learn and understand as a goalie. And Schlosser's done a great job to this point. But she bit for that little bit of that shoulder fake, started going down to her bottom right where so many shots have been, and wasn't prepared for that shot to finish up top. So that was just great shooting, great body control by Chloe Mitchell there. Also, can we just say, one of the beautiful things about lacrosse as a sport is just how fun it is to watch a quick transition like that. That ball can move so quickly up the field, and it's fun to enjoy. And few sports, if any, have that same feel to them.
Oh, great job getting that save. The footwork from Schlosser enabled her to move in front of that ball.
Yeah, great goaltending, but there we go. Solid finish there by Alyssa Johnson. That was a tough shot to get through.
She had to put that right on the pipe because Schlosser is really doing a good job moving her feet to make herself big, right? Yeah, she's basically twice as big as her body by how quick her body movement and her hand speed is. For Johnson to sneak that by hip high just inside the far pipe, it's a very good shot.
Yeah, the Knights are addicted to those stick side shots there, but they were able to sneak that one through. And I say that was a good shot. I mean, that was right on the inside of the pipe. She places that 1/4 of an inch inside, and that's going to be a save off Schlosser's body. So that's tough as a goaltender because sometimes it's just a good shot. And it's a 6x6 cage. You can only take up so much of it, and you got to give credit to the shooter in that regard. But I will say on that previous shot, you saw, again, the difference between the goal and the shot before where Schlosser saved it. Was the shot before was, again, at that 8-meter. They're really testing those deep waters on those shots, and it's not working. But Johnson gets that inside angle, gets about 5 meters, and is able to convert.
Great grab by the Knights, Alyssa Johnson.
Let's see if they push it again. John's their runner. She's got that speed to come around, but they're going to settle it down.
Pepperoni was looking for a cutter on the backside. Belle Quiggle on the ball here. Quiggle getting a lot of time. Her dad is here, her mom and dad both. Mr. and Mr. Quiggle making the trip out here from Logan, Utah. I mentioned before her father out of Poway High School in Southern California.
Who is? What?
Quiggle's dad.
Oh, the Quiggles. Do we have a Quiggle out here?
We do have a Quiggle.
Oh, I didn't recognize this before. So I'm from Poway. That's my high school.
Right.
I played at Poway High.
So I know this, so which is why I'm bringing this up. And Quiggle was one of the best defensemen to ever come out of or ever to play at BYU. Probably the best stick I've ever seen from a defenseman. He even played on Man Up in high school. Mm-hmm. Played some Man Up at BYU as well.
Yeah, he was a wizard with that. That's fun to see. I didn't realize we had a Quiggle out here.
Yeah, the generational thing is really cool to see, as now lacrosse from one generation being passed on to another as it's meant to be. It's a sport that was initiated or originated with the Native Americans, predominantly in the Northeast of the United States, but played in other places. Oh, mistake by the Knights in communication on who was going to get Spratland, but a violation being called. Did you see what was called there?
It looked like they called a crease violation, which, if so, was just a colossal error for Spratland, who usually doesn't make those types of mistakes. But that's unfortunate because she was released wide open in front of the cage for an easy goal, and just that slight foot error gives the Knights the ball back up by 3.
Pushed ahead from Johnson to Mulitalo. Yeah, when the French trappers saw the game being played, they called the net that the Native Americans were playing with, it resembled to them a cross. They called it Lacrosse. And we, as Tyler John able to cut through, they're going to give her a shooting space, it looked like?
No,
or it
was a check.
So she's going to get the ball straight away, free position
She's got the speed. This is ideal scenario for her. She needs to use her speed, get to about 3.5, 4 meters away, and release this shot.
She beats both defenders.
And she converts.
So she does a little twister shot as she goes to her right and brings the stick back across her face, and uses a little flick. We call it a twister. You kind of twist your wrists as you come back across. It's really tough for goalies to handle that, as Schlosser's trying to track her, moving to Schlosser's left, and all of a sudden the stick's coming back to your right. Still, Schlosser was right there, and it took a really good placement underneath her stick from John, putting the Knights up 6-2.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Schlosser was in good position, but couldn't adjust her hands to get the head of that stick back to that back corner where that shot finally finished. It was just great placement. Again, it's tough for a goalie when you got a shot 3-4 feet away from you, trying to just get as big as you can. And if the shooter's good and has good placement, they're going to score every time. Knights with the draw control. They have been dominating, even when varying up who's taking the draw. That's been a huge advantage for them all game.
The Knights are currently 8-1 in draw controls.
Addison England really wanted a goal there. She came down. She thought she had it, lost it, came back up. She's lucky she didn't get a dangerous shot there with the follow-through. It looked like she hit the hand of one of the Piedmont players, but no call given, and Piedmont gets possession coming up the field.
Great pass. They're going to allow the play to continue.
I say great. The Knights, they use a drop-back ride which they're not pressing the ball up where we're seeing the 20 or the 30-yard line. They're taking all of their defenders and packing them between the 40s on either side. And they're just covering that middle of the field. Piedmont's trying to push up on those passes, and whoever catches it in the middle is turning around, and she's got 3 or 4 defenders right there in front of her. And they haven't been able to adjust very well for that. And that was a great job by the ride.
Shot from Addison England again. You mentioned she really wants a goal.
She got it.
And they're going to say it trickled in. All right. It looked like the save was there, but they're going to say it just snuck past the goalie, made its way across the goal line.
Yeah, I say Schlosser's going to want that one back. That's the first one from that. Again, it was that shot from that 8-meter range, fading away from goal on the right. It's the first one that actually was able to slip through, and it looked like it did. She couldn't get the stick down quite fast enough. It looks like she got a piece of it and just trickled through. Schlosser's going to want that one back, but props to Addison England, who just pure muscle, getting a good power shot through from the 8 and getting that goal in.
Checking in for the Knights is Michaela Martin, the attackman from Fayetteville, North Carolina. She's a freshman. Went to Cape Fear High School.
Let's see if Piedmont can make an adjustment on this draw, because they have been dominated all game, and it's led to so many opportunities for the Knights. And honestly, it's probably one of the biggest reasons for the 5-goal differential between the two teams right now. And look at that. They come up with it. Looks like they have their answer right now.
Much needed. Push ahead hard to Allie Reese, who will give it back up to Lindley Ward. From Snellville, Georgia, went to Brookwood High School.
Looked like they might have called a 3-second violation on the Knights. So standing inside of that interior arc, or fan as they call it, for more than 3 seconds while not being within a stick's length of a defender is going to give a free position shot to the offensive team.
Muitalo able to get there, but better with the face dodge was Lindley Ward. Again, the junior from Snellville, Georgia. Great job controlling the ball, getting past the check, keeping her composure, and eventually putting it past the goalie, Jessica Webb. Yeah,
I'd say that was just good offensive play. She had a great job of keeping control of her stick through the checks and being able to fade to her right, getting Jessica off of her baseline there right in the center of the cage. And Webb struggled a little bit in these free position shots when she's got to make quick lateral movements. She struggled to keep her composure. We saw a little bit of it that there. We're going to hopefully, as we get closer to halftime, go in the second half, make some adjustments and try to be a bit more, create more movement from the goalie side.
So back up at the face-off circle. We have draw control, Chloe Mitchell, going up against, I believe it's Jaden Ramatowski again. I'll have to confirm that. Yeah, it is. Great catch. Face off from Chloe to Alyssa Johnson. She wanted to push it. She'll pull it back out.
I say Piedmont didn't pay for it, but that is worst case scenario. Not just to give up the draw, but behind the defender running towards the goal, you can't give that up.
To the Knights' best player. What a great shot. There was a lot of power behind Addison England. She had taken a couple and been denied. She would not be denied on that one.
I think what you have to really enjoy watching Addison play is when she's got that ball, you know she wants to score. You can just see in her countenance the way that she moves. That has so much power, especially as she develops as a player. It's going to force defenders to throw doubles at her sooner to open up opportunities for her teammates, and it's going to allow goaltenders to be, or it's going to force them to almost flinch a little bit before that shot comes. When they know a shooter's got the ball and is in good position, it can be very hard sometimes as a goalie not to react to that situation when you know a good shot's coming and almost psych yourself out of a good save. So great play by England right there.
She's listed as a defender, running a lot of midfield right now, and she's a really hard shooter, shooting 66.7% on the year with 6 shots on goal. But the thing that really stands out is that she has 3 free position goals on 3 shots. She's a really good aggressive shooter.
Yeah, so I think Lindsay Ward, Maitland's left alone again. Jessica Webb comes up big with the save. That was a great, great save by Webb. Should have been a goal for Piedmont. They get it right back.
The Knights have decided that Spratlin is either wearing a cloaking device of some sort, some Harry Potter cloak. I can't remember what that cloak is called. Cloak of invisibility.
Yeah, something like that.
Or just some miscommunication, because twice in a row, this is actually the third time that a player who earlier I talked about seemed like that Coach Whitworth had said we're going to shut her off permanently, could not get open, and now she can't find a defender to cover her.
I mean, she was wide open to cut to cage. Webb had the great save. Then she basically just stands in front of the goal, and nobody accounts for her, and they leave her right there. Defender finally came too little too late. Easy goal right in front. You can't give up that kind of play. That's just a defensive breakdown and something they're going to need to look at halftime.
So the Knights up by 4. Face-off will go the way of the Knights, mainly because of the hard-nosed, just grittiness of Alyssa Johnson, which I think you could probably say that over and over again about a number of plays for the Knights. England with a little bit of a soft shot. She knew the shot clock was running down, stick side.
Yeah, that's a tough one. There's about 9 yards out, so we're getting or 9 meters out. That's further and further away from goal. And particularly those high shots, they're just a lot easier to track when you don't have a lot of traffic in front of you. Typically, if you're going to take that power shot from out there, you want to throw a bounce or something to make the goalie account for it. But doesn't go in. We go into halftime with the Knights with a commanding lead.
8-4 lead, also a bit of a lead in some of the categories that you'd look at as indicators on why the Knights are leading 8-4. Shots on goal, 20-8. A lot more possession for the Knights. The Knights only with two free position shots to the 4 of the Lions. Ground balls for the Knights, 7. Only 1 ground ball for the Lions. And the Knights with 9 turnovers versus the 4 of the Lions, which I think it's because the Knights are on the ball so much that they're turning the ball off a lot more. The draw controls, as you mentioned, being dominated by the Knights 10-3. So the Knights have been on the ball a lot more. 12 saves coming from the stick of Schlosser. She has been probably player of the game thus far for the Lions. So we have about a 9-minute break. We'll come back in 8 or so, finish out the commentary on numbers and what we're seeing out of the Knights and what the also Lions can do going forward, put them in a position to win the game. And welcome back to the second half of this contest between the Southern Virginia University women's lacrosse team going up against the Piedmont University Lions. The usual contest between Mitchell from the Knights and Ramatowski for the Lions at the draw control circle. Again, goes the way of the Knights. We talked about this in the first half. The Knights with 10 draw controls to the 3 of the Lions has just put a lot more opportunities for them on the offensive end. That backdoor cut, Skylar Rowe was looking to feed the crease, thought better of it, but really couldn't pull the ball back as she tried to not feed her teammate coming through. As it is, Alyssa Johnson will end up with the free position shot straight away. Very dangerous. She's able to finish. You're gonna be hard pressed to stop Alyssa Johnson with that free position. You know, when you're straight away, it's just she has developed not only the stick control but the foot speed to get in there really quickly, and she ends up scoring the first goal of the second half, putting the Knights ahead 9-4. This is a bit of a danger moment for the Lions. They need to stay within shouting distance of the Knights if they're going to end up winning this game. They can't let this score balloon with a Knights run. They can't give up 3 or 4 goals right here in succession. And with the Knights doing so well at the draw control, a lot of pressure now on Ramatowski to get the ball to the hands of her offense. I'm Scotty Winterton again, joined by Jordan Sorensen. Jordan was down there actually doing some warm-up with the goalies. I saw you working hard, and then you had to run up here to
So that 10 minutes runs quick.
That 10 minutes does run quick, and the Knights end up with the ball in the 50-50 scrum ahead from Mitchell to Johnson. She'll challenge Ward and takes the shot. Looks like they might call a shooting space. Johnson has had a couple calls go against her this year just because of, I think, how sometimes unconventional her shooting is. She's really developed some great offensive skill sets.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're going to call a dangerous shot here, which is what ran her into trouble in one of the earlier games against Bridgewater. But it's hard. As a coach, you want to encourage that so much. You want them to have the creativity, the ability to find different angles and things. Where she's run into a little bit of trouble is finding creative angles around people, and the refs aren't having it. They're not allowing to let her have that creativity, and it's made a big difference. I think that might be her 3rd or 4th dangerous shot on the season. So we're going to see here as Piedmont gets their clear going. All right, here we go. Moving up the field to that speed.
Kara Crump.
Yeah, they've done a great job of utilizing their speed to take advantage in the clear. That's got to be the 2nd or 3rd time that it's just been pure speed. Look at her just running the whole field. Wow, I'm very surprised there was no call there.
Yeah,
it's
that was a
check that
physical slide. Coming across the crease was Josie Skopek. On the men's side, we call that a coma slide, where you come across the face of the crease and just sandwich the player that's trying to curl around from behind. And they didn't make a call against Skopek, who is a very physical player. I think the Knights defenders, when you look at the way that Skopek, LeBaron, and the way that Kuna play, it's a very physical defense. They like to play
absolutely
in a way that puts a lot of pressure, I think, on the referees to are you going to let them get away with that? And it's resulted in this game with a couple free position shots for the Lions, but overall it's, I think, been a benefit for the Knights.
And I think the huge advantage for the Knights on that last no call, so we're seeing them move around the crease here, was the fact that she had run so much around the field, and towards the end of it she seemed quite possibly a little out of control. and there's a lot more leniency on throwing that penalty if the player if they are at all out of control. So that might have been what caused the refs not to throw that potential card there. Okay, we're moving around the outside. Again, the Knights have done a good job with their motion, trying to create from up top, but their players are adjusting really, really well. So we see a nicely laid check right there. Then you start moving up the field, and it's thrown away.
Abby Newburn, the junior from Port St. Lucia, Florida, went to John Carroll Catholic High School, did a great job on that check, and then they just couldn't finish on the clear.
About the most frustrating thing for a goalie. Great defense, great start of the transition, and then a poor pass that just kind of ruins it and brings the ball right back.
Looks like the referee will give, it won't be a free position shot, just
fouls and inside.
Right, well, replay, a nice find inside, quick whistle. It looked like the Lions were not whistle ready, and you saw Adelaide Smith eye up Alyssa Johnson right away. Johnson with the cut and the finish down low. One of the few finishes down low that's gotten past Schlosser.
I would say that's attribute a lot of that to, obviously you have the feed and then you have the finish. You got to give credit to the finish. But Johnson creating so much stress on the defense as a go-to scorer. Everyone was centered on her. Could she bring the ball in from all the way up at the 12? They had two defenders crashing on her and two Knights running through the crease. There were two different options there. They were both wide open. Find the easy pass, easy goal. And the Knights have opened up the second half with two quick goals and are now 6 ahead, putting themselves in great position going into the rest of the second half. As I say, coming out of halftime, if you're Coach Whitworth, this is exactly what you want. You cannot ask for anything more. High pressure. Piedmont has had little to no time on their offensive end. They're on their heels, and you're just pounding the ball inside, finding girls that are open, and converting for those goals. It depreciates Schlosser's confidence coming into the second half when you let those easy goals right at the beginning, and then the defense is going to be frustrated. We'll see if that translates to more aggressive play or if they make some proper adjustments going forward.
So Kirsten Smith, head coach for the Lions in her third season, takes this timeout. Talked about off those, after that first goal and then this second one, you don't want to give this run to the Knights where it pushes the game out of reach, where you don't feel like you have an opportunity to step in and recover from. She played at Lenore Rhine. She was a midfielder for the Bears. Kirsten Smith, team captain back in 2015. Really a quality player with 110 points, 85 goals in her career. So she really understands the game from an offensive perspective. They came into the 2021 season. They ended up being undefeated in the USA South regular season. They won the USA Southwest Division regular season championship. She really understands, I think, how to create a winning team. And right now, when she's looking at, I think, the kind of the disparity between the two teams, she feels, I think, with that timeout that they're in a very precarious position and really needs her team to step up. And we keep talking about this face-off, the draw control has just been so dominant on the Knights side that it's not giving the Lions an early chance to come back and get a goal, get a possession, give your defense time to rest. And right away, we end up with Addison England, who we know can shoot really hard. Right.
The defender knew she wanted to shoot and put that high pressure, and it resulted in a foul. So she is causing havoc, although that was a little careless on her end there.
Well, not realizing somebody was behind her. I'm not sure really what happened there. They're going to give the ball back to the Lions. That was, I guess you'd call that a freshman mistake. England out of Brighton High School in Alpine, Utah. On the season, she's played 6 games, and she has 4 goals and 2 assists.
Piedmont's moving up the field now, trying to utilize that speed and runs into trouble. Solid defensive play.
Rebecca Slade had a player or two open, tries to do a little much. She's out of Dacula, Georgia, 5'6" midfielder. I'm sure that Coach Smith is talking to her team. You see her down there talking to Slade. Time to move that ball on, find the open player. Tupu Muitalo, opportunity to take a shot, saved by Schlosser, comes across her face, gets that off-stick save, and Spratland had pushed way up, moves the ball quickly ahead. Knights have defenders back, but unfortunately
throws it away again.
For the Lions, they're just struggling in the clear to maintain any control, and it's just going to keep putting that pressure on the defense. We see a number of substitutes coming in for Coach Smith. Sierra McFerrin out of Alpharetta, Georgia. The defender subs in.
So it's very interesting how the Knights have progressed throughout the season with their clears, although that one was a little on the sloppy side. They've done a really good job as we slow the ball down here on the offensive end, but they've done a good job of utilizing their passes, which they didn't do early on. I remember the Bridgewater game in particular. Again and again, you had one girl trying to push it past a double and a triple team to get the ball up the field. And they've shown multiple times in this game, they see that double, triple, and they're able to turn and make that pass behind them wherever it needs to be, and it's resulted in positive clears. So that's great adjustment by Coach Whitworth throughout the season.
I think as Tyler John keeps progressing just in some of her stick skills, she is so good about off-ball movement. I think
quick.
She's quick, so that's, right now she's got 9 goals, 1 assist on the season. It's really, she is a finisher, and I think you'll see that increase even more as the season goes on, but also as she's able to spend a little more time with her stick and gets the wall, up her stick skills a little bit. I think you'll see even more because she really understands how to get open and how to create shooting space.
Absolutely. It's a lot of these younger Knights in particular are in great positions for the rest of their career to really progress and contribute more and more, and we're excited to be here to see it.
We keep seeing the spacing for the Lions where they're dodging underneath their defenders. We see it again. It just happened before. Now a fast break. Breaking out quickly is Piper Searle. She has a chance to move the ball ahead. She has Alyssa Johnson open.
Yeah, probably should have pulled the trigger on that one to Johnson a little sooner, but most importantly is you get that solid clear. Dangerous pass, but gets Johnson wide open.
And they're going to call, I think, maybe another dangerous shot. Alyssa Johnson, she is just so aggressive. Nope, they're going to give the goal. So it was going to be a shooting space. Usually they will call that violation and not allow the goal to take place. If there's any question on shooting space, the referees in women's lacrosse really err towards player safety. But they're going to give that goal to Alyssa Johnson.
Yeah, that was definitely right on the cusp. They were debating exactly how to handle that. Ended up settling with pulling away from any shooting space or potential dangerous shot and just counting it as is. Goes in the favor of the Knights. You can see sometimes it can be a little frustrating for people watching and trying to figure out why shooters don't pull the trigger when you think they have a shot or they're so close, and how that shooting space really works. But again, considering the fact that ball can go fast and these players aren't wearing conventional helmets and gear, it is pure safety of the players. It adds an interesting aspect to the game with far more penalty shots, and it's become such a staple of the women's game and necessary to keep the game progressing forward and protect all the players and allowing the speed of the game to pick up.
We got a couple new face-off. England for the Knights facing off against Bumpus at the draw control. Same result, though, into the hands of Alyssa Johnson,
who just puts on a little bit of a clinic in ball control itself, using that one hand to kind of wheel around. Harder than you would think with a women's stick. It takes definitely some skill with the ball, and you saw it on display there.
Yeah, the ability to control the ball with basically playing it's like playing with a tennis racket and a quick dodge down the heart of the defense was Michaela Martin, the freshman from Fayetteville, North Carolina. As I mentioned, went to Cape Fear High School. Great job just putting a dagger right down the middle. Went through basically 3 players, and then the slide came from GLE from behind basically, and she took the shot before the slide could get there and puts it past Schlosser. Now the Knights with a 4-goal run, exactly what we had talked about in terms of trying to, from a Lions Piedmont side perspective, did not want this run to happen.
It's come down to what we were saying in the beginning, which Schlosser was really keeping Piedmont in the game with save after save, doorstop, distance shots. But you can only hold out so long as a goalie, especially when they're shooting from 5-6 yards away, if not closer, with good hard shots like that last one where she ran free. Schlosser can only do so much. She's played great up to this point, but you're seeing the Knights wear her down.
Nice shot. Good find in transition.
Yeah, Jessica Webb got caught a little flat-footed, a little stiff. She wasn't able to make adjustments, step towards the ball, cut off those angles, and it opened up the cage a bit more for the shooter.
Yeah, but Michaela Smith is running down one-on-one with the goalie. I mean, look, there's saves where the goalies should make. There's saves where the goalies could make, and there's saves where the goalies are just plain out stealing the goal from.
That would have been a steal.
And that would have been a steal.
That would have been a steal. Absolutely, it would have been. From the defensive standpoint, again, it's one of those beautiful things about the game of lacrosse, how quickly that ball can move around and kind of play chess with the defenders. They've got to move to adjust for this open person, that open person. You leave somebody backdoor wide open, like what just happened there. You got that doorstop goal.
Yeah, Michaela Smith finishing as she should. The really nice assist from Allie Reese. Much needed by the Lions to stem the bleeding, if you will, stop the bleeding, stem the tide, which they were able to do. But now the Knights come up with the draw control, and a violation will put the ball back in the stick of Adelaide Smith,
who's been a great presence on the field today.
Yeah, she's tall, she's athletic, she's kind of a player that's like a younger Chloe Mitchell, where she's going to have opportunities going forward because of her athleticism, her height, to really do a lot for these Knights. Alyssa Johnson, she gets tripped up as Abby Newburn was playing very aggressive, and
feet tangled.
Yeah, Alyssa Johnson did it's a really smart play when you cut underneath the defender that you've just beat, essentially cutting her off from doing anything productive defensively. The Knights throw the ball away, and it'll be a quick transition. As long as they can keep control of the ball, still in bounds on the far side.
The Knights causing mayhem in their ride. They're stopping that clear almost consistently at this point. Piedmont cannot catch a break and get that ball upfield consistently.
And then the effort, 50-50 ball, but Adelaide Smith just going so hard after that. Chloe Mitchell finding a cutting Adelaide Smith, who serendipity shines as she, who did all the hard work to get the ball down there, is then able to capitalize with a goal. The lacrosse gods smile upon her.
Yeah, no, it's especially the second half, things have really just blown wide open for the Knights as they've been able to utilize their high pressure and just break down Piedmont's attempts to move that ball up the field. And it just creates more situations like that where you really see the problem is after you get those 2 or 3 goals and you can keep that pressure, no matter how much you try on the defensive end, especially with a lower number of substitutes, you just get worn down. Your heart's still there. You're trying. I'm not questioning effort at all. You're just tired. And it's hot out there today.
Yeah, this is the warmest weather that either of these teams have probably played in all season. Bumpus now will square off in the draw control circle against Chloe Mitchell. Mitchell has had her way throughout the game and does so again.
Yeah, if Piedmont can't
triple teamed and she's able to pull out of it.
So if Piedmont can't find an answer for those draws, which up to this point they really haven't, this game's not going to change.
Love the aggressive play of Kara Crump, the junior, realizing that Adelaide Smith might not be ready. Stepped out, jumped her really quickly. Smith did a good job handling that, but nice opportunity, nice play, nice try from Crump. With 60 seconds on the shot clock, Alyssa Johnson, whose family is out here, had a chance to meet her mom and dad, finds Taylor John, comes across the face of two defenders, and then finishes with her right hand off goalie hip on the right side. Tough save. Again, these are things that are really tough for Schlosser because these are not, I mean, that probably would be a steal it kind of save.
Absolutely a steal.
And the great thing that happened with that play was not only was John, as she very active, comes across the face of the defender that was covering her, but after catching it, she continued to increase her angle to the cage, go past another defender that was trying to come at her, and then forcing the goalie to move her feet, and then the finish comes back across the goalie's face as she was moving to her left. The finishes to the goalie's right. Just really high technical kind of play, like very high IQ play from John.
Absolutely. If you're able to not just take one or two steps past the center of the goal as a shooter, but continue your progression to one side, forcing that goalie to move their feet, it is so hard as a goalie to do that. And the defense cannot let her have that much free movement, or it's a good 90-95% type of shot.
Yeah, defensively, you need to make sure that you're staying on the upfield shoulder of the person you're covering off ball, so that when they do cut, you're in a position to deflect the pass as it comes in or get some disruption to cause them to miss the pass. And here we have a chance to see Skylar Rowe step in from Lee Summit, Missouri, sophomore attackman.
Yeah, she utilized a little bit of that power cradle to walk in the bench where she's really cranking her wrists hard in the cradle. And she got her spacing and brought the defense in, took that push. Can't convert on the free position, but put herself in the right position to advance the ball.
Yeah, build her back on defense there along with Schlosser. Schlosser using the really tricky technique of throwing the ball to the back of the net, and since she's the only one of that group that can run into the crease, it's kind of a nice little free opportunity. And then build her back does a great job. And then the ball up ahead to Spratlin, but the defense forced her out. They're going to call a violation, give the ball back to Spratlin. And
yes,
Jessica Webb.
That was amazing.
Jessica Webb with a really great play, stepping out. So your excitement for that, just as a goalie, seeing a goalie where it was a free play on the other, she had an attackman just standing wide open. And whether it's, a Piedmont player or an SVU player, as a goalie, in your own right, you love seeing goalies make aggressive athletic plays, right?
Yeah, and especially in this case, really been working with Jessica Webb to take advantage of outside the cage, use her stick, use her length to interrupt those passes, such as that first half goal where they snuck in an easy pass to Spratlin, who converted right on the crease. That should have been an easy goal for Piedmont, but she utilized that length, that stick, got in position, and really practicing what she's been learning throughout the year.
Allie Reese with an opportunity here, capitalizes. She puts her stick down hard, just in sort of like relief and frustration bleeding out of Reese there. You can see she's a really solid player. I mentioned she came into the game one of the leading scorers, 8 goals, 6 assists, 14 points on 16 shots. Very efficient. Finally able to get one to go for the Lions. And you can see a little bit of relief from Reese as she puts her stick down on the ground. Pretty aggressive. And I can understand why. It's just, they're really working hard, but it hasn't come to fruition in terms of outcomes because, as you mentioned before, Jordan, the clearing just hasn't been what it needs to be to get the ball into the offensive end.
Yeah, they needed that goal big time. Just give their team motivation moving into as we get closer to this fourth quarter.
And then a face-off win off of their own goal is super important. Great job from Marin Bumpus. exactly what the Lions need. There's 3.5 left in the third quarter, down by 8. Nothing says that this game is out of reach. It's just a real uphill climb, and it has to start with a goal and a face-off win, which is exactly what the Lions just got.
Yeah, and now you're seeing when it comes to trying to create a run, you either score quickly or utilize that clock. Give your defense a break who have been running this whole third quarter. Let your offense kind of settle and develop. You've got a full shot clock. Once you get down to that last 60 seconds like we're in now, then you start pushing that ball forward and trying to create action. So now the defense is well rested. The offense has a bit more control of what they're doing and has hopefully Southern Virginia at this point on their heels and can now make something happen. We'll see how SVU answers. Good.
C-cut from Allie Reese. Is not ending with a shot. Nice with really quality defense, recognizing that cut.
Yeah, there's all the motion coming through the crease where you're trying to free up a girl to have her hands open. You're surprised they let that run.
Mulitalo on the fast break. She's all alone. It's a 5-on-4. Defense getting back. Now it's a 5-on-5. See if the Knights pressure in this early transition. If anybody can create anything down there, it would definitely be Tyler John. You love as a coach with her on the ball. She gets underneath her defender, goes to her left hand, and finishes over the top of Schlosser. Jordan, what's the advantage of going early in the shot clock and in transition?
Well, transition in general, what you're hoping for has got to be a free run to goal like John did in there. She got past that first defender, and the defense was not in position to readjust, to have a second come to try to help slow John down. And so she was able to get that shot off before Schlosser had any help to disrupt, to move John, or anything else. So that is a huge advantage if you get that open shot. What happens to a lot of teams is they come down for transition. They really want that goal, so they force it into something that isn't so cut and dry open. And the Knights have not had that issue today. They've taken advantage of their transition and really put that high pressure on Piedmont this whole game.
So it's just number-wise, you think, so 6-on-6 is better than offensively is easier to play than 7-on-7. 5-on-5 easier than 6-on-6, and progress that down to a 1-on-1 offensively would be the easiest type of offense to play. So when you're in a 5-on-5 situation, the fact that if you have smart players that can judge how to push and when to push, you're in a really good position to do that. That shot just off of the stick of Schlosser back into Quiggle's hands. John trying to find Cutting Mitchell, does find her, turn and shoot. And Schlosser with a great save. That's a save that we saw pretty routinely out of her in the first half. And really we're not able to see that again until just this moment. Schlosser effectively using the cage and the crease. Create time and opportunity. 72 seconds left on the shot clock. And the turnover right at midfield into awaiting arms. Happy birthday to Tupu Mulitalo as that ball just fell into her lap. And now she gets underneath the defense, freezes, spins. What an incredibly athletic move from Tupu Mulitalo, the freshman out of Rockbridge County High School, Lexington, Virginia, just up the road. Although her family lives here in Buena Vista, her father, longtime NFL player, Ed Mulitalo, offensive lineman for the Ravens, won a world championship starting next to Jonathan Ogden. Brings a lot of athleticism into that family for sure, and Mulitalo puts that on display.
Well, I think what I was so happy about is she finally used her speed. She has speed, and you can see it. That previous transition where she kind of was wide open the field, and maybe there was a call from the sideline we can't hear to tell her to slow it down, but she did not utilize that speed. She came in slow. She got progressively slower and really settled into the offense. I would have loved to have seen her speed on display. We finally got to see it right there. She pushed. She had a great athletic spin inside and found herself in great position to convert that for a goal. That's good play and what you want to see out of freshmen, because again, it translates to game experience, that when there's a little bit more pressure, the game's on the line, you're more and more confident that they can handle that situation, make that spin, not lose the ball, and convert that for a goal. This is the experience you want your young players to have.
So the Knights take a 10-goal advantage into the fourth quarter. We'll take a 1 minute, 30-second break, come back. And when we start now the fourth quarter, Knights ahead by 10. I think they might have a running clock. That's why there was no draw to after that last goal, is once you're up by 10, right? Isn't that a running clock?
Yeah, and they've adjusted the rules. In fact, this has been a year for rules to be changed, going from the 4 quarters instead of 2 halves, which means you're switching the field, which you just saw them switch the field, the goalie switch sides, which you're not really accustomed to from previous years. This is new. It's a new feel, and seeing that quick transition into this fourth quarter with that running clock, the game's going to move fast in this fourth quarter.
Yeah, don't blink because the quarter will be over. But that running clock could be stopped from being a running clock should the Lions garner the first goal of the quarter here and maybe put themselves in a position to get 2 or 3.
And I will say, as the Knights are setting up their offense, one thing that's been really impressive from Schlosser is she showcased it in the last 5 minutes. Several times she's had the ball outside of the crease, outside of that goal circle, and she's had great control. And that's hard to do as a goalie, particularly in the women's game where you don't get as many opportunities outside of the crease as maybe the men's game. Finding a goalie that has a high level of comfort, it's not as common as you would think, and Schlosser's showing a high aptitude for that. It's been really impressive to see. Yeah,
I often try to talk with goalies about the fact that they're not a goalie first; they're a lacrosse player first, and that the circle, the crease, is not their home, right? Like that's just kind of a place where they play most of the time. Can you get outside that? Be a lacrosse player first. And I love that you're highlighting Schlosser's play here because she's clearly an athlete and sees herself as a lacrosse player before she sees herself as a goalie. Quiggle comes across. almost gets that goal to go. Great stop by Schlosser. Quiggle trying to do the come underneath her defender, getting her on her back as the rain starts to come down. Just a little bit of sprinkle. Kind of a surprise. This came on us quick. So the ladies will play with a little bit of cooling going on now. I think it's a welcome rain as long as the thunder, lightning stay away. Mulitalo is such a force on defense. But that now we see Spratlin catch and finish. She's very calm on the crease right there as she took the time to throw a fake and finish. I was watching her come off in the third quarter, just watched her come off the field, and you can definitely see she's got a limp. You can see she's a little frustrated just in kind of how her demeanor. I think she's playing hurt, and to her credit, really clearly a tough player, tough kid that's out there, even though she's banged up.
Yeah, I mean, she's leading Piedmont in their efforts today. I mean, if there's a goal going to happen, you're probably betting it's going to come from her or Ward right now, who are the two that are really showing that offensive light and highlighting what Piedmont is capable of when they're kind of at full strength. But the Knights have been so dominant defensively, it's made it a struggle most of this game.
And great job to get that goal that cuts the deficit to 9, stopping the running clock. John just barely faded. It looked like there was a deflection off of Schlosser. There was a wide open cage as the fake caused Schlosser to jump and move upfield. And by that time, John was almost behind her, and there was nothing but net.
Yeah, that can be really, really hard for a goalie, especially when those shots have consistently come. In the second half, the Knights have adjusted to shooting high a lot more than low because Schlosser was saving those. And she started leaving her feet because she has to. She has to do something to get her body in position. And they did a great job there with the shot. That early half fake just kind of like tilted her stick a bit. Schlosser went up thinking she was in great position and found that backside of that cage, which is it's tough for Schlosser because she's put in a terrible position. There's only so much you can do as a goalie, and really she had great play. It was just a great finish. You can only hope for so much, and it's just great shooting.
Sneaky play, little hockey play from England.
Who has really come alive. She has been phenomenal this game.
And here she is, dodging through 3, now 4, now 5 defenders.
And gets the call.
And then gets the call, and will end up, I think, with a free position shot. It will be. I don't know what she had for breakfast, but England has just been on fire, a terror to the defense. And the shot, what a sweet place shot. Any shot that's hip high, off stick is like, in that scenario, the only chance that Schlosser had was sticking her elbow out to get to it, and she couldn't get there.
Absolutely. That is great placement, and particularly to England's credit, she didn't utilize the full windup to do it. If you watch the replay on that, she didn't have to stick her stick, cock it behind her, and really put her entire weight into it. She had the stick pulled in front of her and really snapped her wrists effectively, which is great shooting because it's hard as a goalie to track and really gauge when that shot is coming. Utilizing all of that and perfect placement, that's going to be a goal 99% of the time. And it's great shooting.
So the Knights push the lead to 11, 9:40 in the fourth. And England, I'm assume she's going to go to goal.
That's a great assumption, and she picks it up. She has not just come alive, but she's to a degree taken over this second half with her the presence on the field. Again, when she has that ball, you know she's going to go. You know she wants to go to goal, whether she ends up actually shooting. But that's hard as a defense. You have to adjust for that. They're going to start sending that double really early, which is going to free up those backdoor cuts to be effective. I mean, she has put her will on this second half of the game.
So when you look at the stat line for the Knights. Alyssa Johnson with 5 goals and 3 assists, 3 ground balls, 2 turnovers. Addison England, with her play in the second half, has put herself second in points, 4 goals, no assists, 6 shots, and no ground balls, although she just got a ground, I think it was off the draw, she got a ground ball. So those two have really imposed their will. Tyler John, as you would expect, and here's England again. I'm going to assume that all 4 players that are following her down may be enough to deter her from going to the cage. She wants to get maybe an assist. She's got a goose egg in the assist column. But when you're shooting that well and you're able to get to the goal, why not shoot it, right? Who needs an assist?
Absolutely. And again, you saw those 4 people came. They had a tough time adjusting for where everyone was after the fact, and the pass was there, just missed.
So it would be. I would love to see England get her head up in those scenarios and find some cutting offensive players. And it may be, when players kind of get in, when your teammates just go into the cage, sometimes you find your teammates kind of watching. Or when it's just really good, that you find themselves watching. And so England needs to make sure that she's playing in a way that encourages her teammates to keep playing with her and for her, getting open as she draws all the attention.
And Schlosser there with a textbook save for a goalie. 2 feet to her right-hand side, moves her entire body, not just her stick, and just takes away the entire right-hand side of the cage on that shot. You can't ask to be in better position, and that's what caused them to get that ball back. But then Piedmont has struggled again and again with that clear, and the Knights took advantage. Although it looks like a turnover is going to give them one more chance.
Yeah, the connection between LeBaron and Quiggle did not pan out, but Quiggle with a strong ride will get the ball back and get into the stick of LeBaron.
Yeah, that was a very dangerous situation for Piedmont, and they really trying hard to force the ball into Schlosser, who tried to come out of the cage and be a presence there. But that's always going to be difficult. You'd rather the defender work the ball up the wing if they're not being covered, and utilize that space instead of trying to force it through a defender to the goaltender. And luckily they didn't pay for it in that situation.
Looks like we have a timeout on the field.
I think one thing to highlight while we're in this timeout is the Knights have switched goaltenders. Jessica Webb's day is likely done, and they've brought in Maddie Petroza, to bring in for the last of this 4th quarter. Excited to see what she can really bring. She's developed a lot throughout the season, particularly in her footwork, and she's had fast hands. I say when you watch her play, you'll notice real quick she's got really fast hands for those close inside shots, and she's really developed a lot throughout the season, and having her feet and form really match those hands. And it's exciting to watch that progression on the field as she gets better and better at bringing the entirety of her athleticism into good form, good hands, good positioning, and just tracking the balls as they come through. I think we're going to see her continue to blossom as a goaltender as not just this season, but future seasons come along.
On top of that, Maddie Pedroza is an incredible mother, a little baby girl that my daughters have the pleasure of babysitting now.
That's
and then.
awesome.
And her husband, also a former lacrosse player, a graduate of Southern Virginia University, currently in graduate school at the University of Virginia. So a lot going for this family. And it's, he's in grad school, she's working, she's in school, she's playing lacrosse, and they're parents of a little baby girl. These are really crazy times in situations like that, and I speak from experience, having had a somewhat similar situation when I was in college at the end of my playing career. And I really got to applaud Maddie Pedroza for the effort that she's put in. And, without her, she was the Knights' starting goalie. But, you come in and now she's not starting anymore. When you go from being a starter, not a starter, that's also very difficult. But the Knights really needed her for a year or two where she was clearly the best option on the field. And to her credit, staying with the team when you're not starting, being positive, those are hard things to do, and she's done a great job at it.
Absolutely. We see the Knights, again, just pushing the offensive end here. Maintaining possession. That shot was a little off target, it looked like. I don't think it was a save. It looked like it was shot wide left coming off the stick. Knights will retain possession, but, it looks like there might have been a foul on the – there must have been a foul on the shot that we didn't see. Maybe that deflection came off of somebody's stick.
Quiggle throws a fake, moves the goalie to the left, and ends up finishing to the goalie's right. That'll make Papa Quiggle happy.
So you know what we call that, right? We call that a Poway goal.
Is
Finish high, look good.
Finish high, look good. Well, that she did. Tough situation. Do we have a timeout on the field, or I can't quite tell.
Yeah, the clock stopped, so it must be a timeout.
We have a timeout on the field.
Yeah, we're not quite patched into the refs at this point. We're good. We're not quite there yet, but
my
we can
clairvoyance
make
is still a work in progress. That's a bit of the struggle I have with doing both the men's and women's game. As I mentioned, we did the men's game before. Is the refereeing in the men's game has, like I would say the NFL has very clear signals on what the penalty was, and in the women's game you have kind of signals that mean two or three things, and the referees will show that signal, but sometimes you're not really sure what exactly transpired in the moment, unless, like you're very versed in the game and you can see the penalty happen. You can't really tell from the referees often what exactly transpired. And so, we've had a couple games where we were just like, I don't know why they stopped that. and it had, as much to do with our own ignorance at times. But it's really, I love watching the women's game. As you mentioned, the speed that the game's played at. As somebody who's played lacrosse for 38, 40 years, the skill sets that it takes to play lacrosse with the sticks that they play with, the speed that they play with, the control, it's really impressive, the athleticism and the level of skill that it takes to play lacrosse in the women's game. It's really awesome to watch.
Yeah, we always say, you watch a men's game and a women's game, and they're drastically different for a lot of different reasons. It's the same sport, but played very differently. And one of the things that we say in women's lacrosse is there's so much finesse in how you play women's lacrosse. And it makes it a lot of fun to watch and support, especially with some of the rule changes of the last couple of years, allowing defenders to run through the goal circle just opens up the game a lot more. The running clock has been a lot easier. It's easier and easier to be a bigger and bigger fan of women's lacrosse.
I hope everybody out there watching is enjoying this contest. I'm sure if you're a Knights fan, it's a little bit more enjoyable. You always like to be on the positive side of a 20-7 goal differential. That being said, there's a lot to enjoy and cheer on around this Lions team, and surely Coach Smith will have Piedmont back in winning ways through recruiting and their efforts in practice.
Yeah, and I think one thing to definitely mention is they've been good. They've had stretches where they've looked very good offensively. They've had some stretches where, particularly obviously goaltending, they've looked very solid defensively. Where things have broken down has kind of been that transition game. Clearing the ball up the field has been that struggle to set up the rest of their game. The Knights have capitalized on it. It's led to the score that we're at right now. But Piedmont is that kind of that one portion of the field away from being far more competitive in this game.
Yeah, you don't really see the Holly Kuna play or the Roxy LeBaron play that you just saw, where they can punt return that ball through one, two, maybe even a third defender from the defensive side to the offensive side, creating easy clear and getting the ball down to the offense. It's been more of a struggle for them than I'm sure Coach Smith would like. Nice check. I believe that was Kara Crump. She's thrown a number of really precise checks.
And it's a good thing because England had her eyes set on goal there.
That's like saying we breathe air.
Yeah, she has shown that today. Although I will say that pass to the back, just barely off target, a little too difficult to handle, so it brings the ball right back. Who, now that we look at it, Piedmont has also switched goalies, and they brought in goalie Rachel Werner, who has played in 4 games this year, and give her some play time and some experience in the cage. We'll see what she brings to this last 2 minutes of the game.
Searle trying to do her best England imitation, but the defense collapsed hard, not giving her any leeway. Great job from Sierra McFerrin, really closing down the driving lane.
Well, I think we get a foul call here, and the Knights are really, in those last 2 minutes, they've got some different players in, particularly really pushing it on offense, who don't get as many opportunities throughout other games of the year, and they're doing a lot of ISO dodge. They've kind of gone away from that draw the double and dump it, and Piedmont has taken advantage and looked pretty good. But that is just
Piper
a solid
Searle
goal.
steps up, and she scores, getting her 4th goal on the season. She had 3 goals, 3 assists coming into the season. Coming into this game. Scores her 4th goal. Shooting percentage a little low at 33.3%. That will help it out. Great finish from her, and really generating this opportunity by her own aggressive offense.
Yeah, and you see the placement of the shot. That is quite possibly the hardest shot placement on the field. It's a high bouncer to a top corner. It's hard. One of the reasons that it's so hard is because getting that bounce trajectory to go off the ground and hit the top corner without bouncing over the cage, to the left, to the right, it's very difficult. And if you hit it perfectly in that corner, it's one of the most difficult shots to save for any goalie, because you got to come all the way down, rotate your hands, come all the way back up, pop your body up, and get in good position. You don't get shots better than that.
Bumpus with the draw control. Move the ball ahead to teammate Allie Reese. And then back to Bumpus. Ball off the pipe. I think they'll call a shooting space foul. And you'll have Rebecca Slade step up for a free position shot. And shoots it low. It looked like Pedroza was on it, just didn't quite get the stick low enough to handle the bounce.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that goalies tend to work on, is trying, when you go to the ground, getting that stick all the way down to the turf, the top of your stick hitting the turf. And it takes years of practice to get your body in that position. She's just barely off there, and we end the game in that 21 to, I believe it's 8 is our final score.
Yeah, 21-8. The Knights now 3-0 in conference.
Well, I think we went into this game saying we have the preseason second place team and the preseason tied for third place team, and there was a gap in the voting between second and third, and I think we saw that gap on the field a little bit today.
Yeah, excellent assessment, and it was going to be interesting to see, just from an academic standpoint, that gap of 76 points in terms of voting points for the Lions, 90-plus points for the Knights, who are about 4 or 5 points behind the first-place team in terms of preseason voting. And I think, as you mentioned, truly on display was the difference between right now the third-place team and I think the top 2 teams in the conference. There's still a lot of lacrosse left to be played for both the Lions and the Knights. We mentioned this is only the first conference game for the Lions, so a lot of opportunity for them to get out and do well, keep themselves in a position to be in the playoffs, and maybe even see this Knights team again. Overall, looking at the stats, Alyssa Johnson led all scorers with 5 goals, also added 3 assists for 8 points. We mentioned Addison England and her 4 goals. Tyler John with 3 goals and no assists. Chloe Mitchell, 3 goals and 3 assists, 6 points on the day. More importantly, draw controls. She was fantastic throughout the day, really dominated the draws in the circle, giving the Knights lots of opportunities to create runs. over on the Lions side, Maggie Spratlin, as expected, kind of leading the way, 2 goals, no assists on 4 shots. Lindley Ward with 2 goals, and Michaela Smith and a smattering of others with a goal. So time for Coach Smith to take the team, regroup. Really appreciate everybody showing up and watching this, and hopefully you've been with us throughout the day. Gotta thank Jordan Sorensen for coming and doing commentating. Fantastic having you with us, bringing your expertise. Love the production that Craig Reese and Paul Morrissey are putting together throughout the day. Not easy to do when you're a full day like this up at the fields. Everybody out there, I hope you stay safe. Take care of each other. God bless.
Enjoy the weather. Go Knights.